Good afternoon and welcome to a very hot summer's afternoon in Lanzarote. It's 34 degrees at the moment, and those of you who know the island well will know that we're heading towards the Arrietta roundabout. And the plan today is to give you a sort of round trip you can do in the north of the island on a bike or in a car, and it's actually part of the route that we used to do our training on for Ironman, so we've done it many times by bike as well as car. So if you're coming from Arrecife or any of the resorts, you'll come in on the road you can see on the right now, and when you get to this roundabout, just loop around it and go straight across into the village of Arrietta, because we're going to start by pausing at La Garita, which is the beach here, probably our favourite, or one of our favourite beaches on the island. Here we are now at Arrietta Beach. We parked in the side streets, and it's mid-afternoon, you can see it's quite busy. It tends to get busiest, this one, late afternoon, early evening, doesn't it, Jules? When
a lot more Spanish come to this beach.
Yeah, sort of come home from work. Someone about to go in and do some snorkeling there. Unfortunately, the new pier is still closed. Do you know what the story is on that one?
I assume we're waiting for Costas again to... it's the decking that went off the concrete bit at the end, isn't it? And the railings at the very end when the waves come over the top. So we're waiting for Costas to approve.
It's a real shame they didn't just rebuild it as it was before, because we enjoyed it for many years.
I know.
Diving off it and swimming out to it, and it stood up to the weather here very well, didn't it? So on your little tour, having arrived here in Arrietta, you could head to the Chiringuito over there, which you can see is absolutely packed with people, and go and have a cup of coffee or a bit of tapas. They do grilled fresh fish, and they've got a barbecue in the shape of a boat that they cook it on.
Pimientos, that used to be a good
Oh yeah, pollo con pimientos. Yeah. That's we spent years trying to perfect their recipe, didn't we? We got there in the end. The missing ingredient was vinegar, if I remember rightly.
There's a children's playground, only a small one there for smaller children, and underneath is toilets.
Toilets and showers.
And showers.
Yeah.
And you've got the mojito bar that Volkswagen.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have to zoom in and see.
Camper van in the trees.
Yeah, you might be able to see that now on Zoom. Yeah, it's a little Volkswagen Type 2, which has been converted into mojito bar.
And Casa La Playa, I think it's just called, isn't it?
Yeah. Apologies for all the zooming in and out there. So it's one of those days where there's not much surf, so it's a cracking day for snorkeling, and we often come out and snorkel in amongst these rocks. You see loads and loads of fish, and if you go along and swim under the legs of the pier, you'll see some really interesting stuff. On other days when it's particularly windy, you might get decent surf here, certainly for bodyboarding, and the surfers do come down from time to time. So we've left the beach behind us now, and we're heading through the village of Arrietta. I'm sure you can hear the air conditioning chuntering away to try and cool the car down. As I mentioned before, it's a very hot day today. Arrietta looks busier than it usually does, Jules, doesn't it?
Restaurants are busy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Weekends especially, you need to make a reservation for restaurants down here.
Oh, for sure.
There's a little tapas bar, I don't know whether you'll see it, just down there. No.
On the right, yeah. And the restaurants here specialise in fresh fish. There's one in particular that does a great paella, and I can never remember the name of it. Do you, Jules?
La Nasa.
That's
I'm
it.
just showing the doll's house down there.
Yeah, there's the famous doll's house, built by someone for his daughter who wasn't very well, as a kind of memorial to her. It's been restored and is in public ownership now. Now this village goes straight into Punta Mujeres. I mean, although they're two separate villages, they're almost joined together now, as you'll see in a minute.
It's nice for a walk along here, isn't it? You've just got the sea at the side of you.
Yeah, it's a fabulous walk, and as I said before as well, it's just a lovely cycle coming along here. Smooth road, and fabulous to have the ocean right by the side of you. We've seen loads of papaya trees. There are more and they're
heavy with fruit, aren't we, at the moment? We've got El Lago coming up. It's a nice restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah, restaurant and apartments as well with a nice swimming pool.
There's El Lago.
Wow, that's packed with people. So that really is where Arrietta ends, and those white houses you can see up ahead are where Punta Mujeres begins. So, as I say, they're almost joined up, the two villages now.
Just going to see if I can... Yeah, the sort of turquoisey sea there is always really nice, isn't it? It's has a surf break on it.
Yeah, and there's a sort of sandy bottom there as well, which gives you that turquoisey effect. So Punta Mujeres has got the fiesta on at the moment, hasn't it?
Just starting, yeah. Los Pinos, Fiesta de los Pinos, and it's always just as as in the pines.
Yes.
Just thought that might sound a bit strange. It's just always as the children are going to school next month, back to school.
They're not back yet, though, are they?
No, but in the next week or so they'll start
it's
heading
pretty
back.
imminent, isn't it?
Right.
So we're going to take a right here, right down onto the front to where Bar La Piscina is.
That's a great view, isn't it, as you come down?
Fabulous, isn't it?
The stop sign, it's like you can't go any further, can you?
So all these people are enjoying Bar La Piscina at the moment, sitting on the seawall, and there's a swimming pool there, isn't there?
There is, and also steps down into the sea, so it's easy access for the water there. Reminds me a bit of Cornwall and Devon down here. It's just like the little twisty Cornish street, you know, you could just be, or Devon maybe more Devon.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of like Cornwall or Devon, and unusually narrow roads for this island as well. This was originally, of course, a fishing village, so these houses would have been inhabited by fishermen, and as they were then, fishers or fisher people and their families. So you can see the fair that was in Arrecife has moved down here for Punta Mujeres' fiesta. There's a chiringuito there with selling doradas. We used to live in Punta Mujeres, and it gets very, very loud at fiesta time. So on your little tour, of course you can stop in Punta Mujeres and have a good walk around. It's a pretty little village, but if not, you'll head back up to the main road, which is what we're about to do, and carry on in the direction of Ursula. Okay, and we're now on the main road towards Ursula. You can see that sculpture of one of the blind crabs that live in the Jameos del Agua. And if you haven't done Jameos del Agua or Cueva de los Verdes, then you should certainly stop here and have a look at these two attractions. Jameos del Agua, of course, was Manrique's first big project on the island, and it is magnificent to look at. Cueva de los Verdes was designed, well, it wasn't really designed because it was designed by a volcano, but it was created as a tourist attraction by his partner Jesus Soto. And the road on the left now that goes up to Cueva de los Verdes has gone one way now, so you can only go up. So we're on the road now, probably halfway between Punta Mujeres and Ursula. This area to our right is known as Calaton Blanco, and there's a couple of lovely beaches and a sheltered lagoon with white sand, as you can see. And this volcanic stuff on both sides of the road here dates back to, I think it's about 5,000 years ago, the big eruption of Monte Corona, which is what created Cueva de los Verdes and Jameos del Agua. So this is much older volcanic material than you find in Timanfaya, for example. Does this remind you of cycling along here, Jules?
Oh, we used to do 20-kilometre loops, didn't we, along here when we were training for Ironman? And coming out, you would be into wind all the way, and then coming back, you'd have a nice tailwind.
Yeah, I was always faster than you coming back, but slower going out, wasn't I?
Something to do with the aerodynamics, maybe.
Or the lack of.
It's just such a gorgeous road, this, and it's very similar to Hawaii, isn't it? They come here to train because of this road in particular, these conditions.
Yeah, and if you've ever watched the bike course on Ironman Hawaii, it looks a lot like this. It kind of really reminds me of it, and that also runs along the shoreline like this.
So you were a bit early with the Caleton Blanco before, so...
This is the next beach, isn't it?
Yeah,
so what's that first one called? Can you remember?
We've got, well, coming up here now, I don't know the name of this one, but it's quite popular because there's a big car park opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as we climb the hill here, there's a lovely little one down below, and it tends to be a naturist beach.
Okay.
And then after that, you've got Caleton Blanco.
And this white sand, of course, comes straight in from the Sahara, so it accumulates here. It's blown across the 80 to 100 kilometres of ocean between us and the Sahara Desert.
See if I can get drop down in a minute. There we go. Beautiful, nice little cove there. It's quite a rough coast. You can't really go out and swim on these. You can have a little paddle, but it's not really for swimming. And that's why Caleton Blanco's popular, because it's very shallow, isn't it? So it's good for kids on this coast.
It's kind of a lagoon, isn't it? And as you quite often get on a really hot afternoon here, you can see the cloud drifting over the top. The other side of those hills in front of us are the cliffs of Famara, and cloud builds up over the top of there and then sort of sweeps over them, but it never reaches the valley. It kind of melts or is heated up by the rock and just gradually disappears. Here we are in the village of Ursula, which of course is the stepping off point for the island of La Graciosa. And there are two ferry companies that run ferries across to the beautiful island, or the funny island, La Graciosa. And you can either stop here and park. The blue spaces are limited to, I think it's 2 hours, isn't it, Julia?
Yeah, it's not long enough to take the day trip to Graciosa, but it's long enough for a meal or a drink.
Yeah. So park in one of the blue spaces, and you can have a... Sorry about these speed bumps, by the way, folks. Oh, they are vicious. One of our favourite restaurants there on the left, La Maracilla. And all the restaurants here are fresh fish specialists, as you can imagine.
That's when you want it by the sea, isn't it? You just want to eat fish.
Yeah. And there's a nice little fishing harbour here, so everything they've got is caught very locally and brought in and cooked fresh on the day.
So we're going to loop round now, aren't we? And we're not stopping, we're going to go up the hill.
Exactly. So when you're doing it, dear viewer, feel free to stop and park up anywhere along here and go and have a fresh fish lunch or some coffee or whatever, but we're going to sign off this bit and take you up the hill in a moment. Here's the main road out of Ursula going up the hill, and in front of us is the Aloe Vera farm.
I think you can pop in for a coffee and cake there, can't you?
You can coffee and cake, and you can buy aloe vera products here as well, and they've got big fields of the healing plant, which is very much associated with Lanzarote. They say that the aloe vera here is the best in the world. I mean, I don't know, I'm no expert, but apparently it's a very special variety. And now we're climbing up through more of the volcanic stuff that came out, and this is just a lovely road on a bike, a motorbike, or in a fast car even. Quite narrow and twisty. Challenging on a bicycle, but very good for the legs, as you can imagine.
I think this one's worse than Tabayasco on the bike.
Yeah, it's shorter and sharper, isn't it? Tabayasco is it just goes on forever. And there's a corner is coming up in a few minutes, which is horrendous on the bike. You just can't get a low enough gear to get around it.
Well, it's a camber on it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you almost need to be on the wrong side of the road, but you can't see if any traffic's coming, so it's a bit of a gamble whether you stay where you should or go across for the easier line.
This is farming country now, lots of thinkers along here. Quite a lot of grape is grown in the north of the island, and they sell their grapes to the bodegas in La Heria for converting into wine and bottling and stuff like that. We do have one bodega up here, La Arrietta, which is run by, his name escapes me, Julie, I bet you remember it.
Is it David?
No.
No. Okay.
Never mind, it'll come back to us.
Come to me.
And he makes some interesting wines.
Just get to see the Monte Corona now, don't you, in the castle house? Maybe in the distance coming round.
Yeah, and it was Monte Corona that, on your right actually, I can see it now, that produced all this volcanic stuff we see around us in the big eruption, as I say, around 5,000 years ago.
On the lead up to this corner.
Yeah, this is where it starts to hurt on the bike. So the hill gets steep, as you can see now, and as we come around this corner, you can see where that white car's going, and he's just turning into that super steep bit. And as Julie says, the camber's vicious on it, and if you don't get it right, you've got to hurriedly unclip before you fall over. You can see how steep this is here.
There we go. Knew we'd meet somebody on there.
And there's Monte Corona in all its glory.
So at the top we're going to turn right.
We are. So the road we get to at the top, left goes down to Arrietta, and we're going to take a right. So we'll take a pause now while we gather ourselves. So we've climbed all the way up now to, well, we're approaching Mirador Del Rio, which if you're driving will have been a wonderful drive. If you're on the bike, you'll be feeling pretty tired by now, because it's a long climb from sea level to where we are now. But the good news, if you are on the bike, is that from here all the way back to Arrietta is downhill, and you won't have to pedal. I can tell you, you can go all the way down without touching the pedals, and you'll be whooping as you do it. And here we are coming into the Mirador Del Rio car park. Again, if you haven't done it before, you must go and do it while you're doing this drive around. It's probably my favourite of Manrique's works anywhere in the world, and he didn't just do stuff here in Lanzarote. There's a glimpse of La Graciosa, but it's definitely worth paying the entry to visit Mirador Del Rio and actually look at it straight from above. And in the distance there we've got La Caleta de Famara. It's the famous Mirador del Rio sign, of course, and if you come up on a bike it's obligatory to get someone to take a photo of you holding your bike over your head by the sign. So this is the turning point of our little trip. I'll take you down the hill to Ye in a moment, just to show you a couple of frames of the village with the shortest name in Spain, Ye. And when you get to the bottom of this road, you hang a left and just follow it all the way down to Ursula. And as I say, you won't need to pedal if you're on a bike. Sorry, Arrietta. You're quite right, I apologise. So there you have it, this is the downhill now. The motorcyclists coming up and enjoying a countryside ride. And when you get to the bottom of this road, as I say, just turn left and follow it all the way back to Arrietta. And we think the distance is about 40k, Jules, do we?
Yeah, maybe.
For the whole route?
Well, it's 20k on the coast road, and then we come up the hill, haven't we, and then go back. So I would say, yeah, just over 40k.
Okay.
Mind you, it's 2k if you come up with the Mirador, about 45, because it's 2 kilometres up this road.
that is the entire village of Ye in front of you, so there's not a great deal to look at there. There is a cracking restaurant though.
The Volcan.
Yeah, the Volcan, which does...
They've got a grill, haven't they? They do really nice meat on it.
yeah, and they have fabulous aged steaks and stuff like that. So left at this point to take you back to where you started, or if you prefer you can go right, which of course we're going to do, to go to Maguez and then Arrietta. But I hope you've enjoyed that. That's been our little weekly tour for those of you who want to try the north of the island.
I'm just going to hang on a moment just while we drive through the other end of the village.
Okay.
The restaurant's just there on the left-hand side. There is a Sociedad, but it never seems to be open, does it?
We've never found it
just coming
open.
up here with there's chairs outside.
Ah.
There you go. Maybe the Sociedad is open again now.
Oh, it does look like it actually.
And then there's just a church on the outskirts, and that's where the footpath to if you want to go up to the Volcan starts, and that's only a short walk as well, isn't it? But worth doing, a nice one.
Yeah, very much so.
Right, so we're just going to come out of Ye. There's the church, and we'll say goodbye.
All right, have a wonderful weekend everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that. Bye for now.